who didn't hear me the first time, thank you all for coming. It really shows everyone's super duper commitment to this process, I think. So thank you. And so with that, we will convene and with the Pledge of Allegiance. How about somebody new? Lisa, have I asked you to lead the pledge? I have? Oh, you okay. I was going to switch. It's okay. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And then if we could have introductions starting with people on the PCC, starting with Kim.
Kim Ridgway, AC Transit.
Rashida Kamara, Central Contra Costa Transportation Authority.
Pello Smith, East County Paratransit user.
Deanna Perry, Tri-Delta Transit.
Michael Daugelli, East County Paratransit user.
Rita Xavier.
I'm sorry. Janet Abelson, West County Rider and Chair.
Rita Xavier, Contra Costa County Advisory Council on Aging.
Greg Dwyer, Community Services Director, City of San Pablo.
Lisa Hammond, Choice in Aging.
Lori Reese Brown, City of Richmond.
Vi Ibarra, Developmental Disabilities Council.
Peter Engel, CCTA staff.
Firdaus Jahan, CCTA staff.
Beverly Smith.
Joanna Pollock, WICTAC staff.
Brian Kelleher, CCTA staff.
Okay, did we get everyone? Okay, thank you. Let's see here. So are there any members of the public who would like to speak on anything that is not on the agenda? If you want to speak on an item on the, did we get you in the corner, sir?
I'm here with the audiovisual company, making sure your microphone.
Oh, okay. Thank you. We all appreciate that.
We've had were you at the board meeting?
I couldn't come because of the, it was changed the date and we had a council meeting.
Oh, we've had problems with the mics going in and out, so we had the audiovisual guy come and see if he can figure out what's going on. Okay. Of course, it'll probably work fine today. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so if anyone wants to speak on the public would like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda, they can do so right now. If they want to speak on an item that is on the agenda, they can do so when we're speaking about that agenda item. Is there anybody that wants to speak on an item not on the agenda? Not seeing any. We'll move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the roster, and it's on page 1-1. And at least I think that's what you're calling the roster, right? And does anybody see anything, first of all, in need of corrections on here? And then I suppose the other question is, are there any vacancies that we ought to look at filling?
Okay, we did receive an application for somebody from West County that was referred from, I think she's from El Cerrito, actually. So did she send her application in? Okay, so she asked for an application, we sent it to her, but she hasn't sent it in yet. So we do have a possibility from.
And do they have to attend some meetings first?
They have to attend at least one meeting, yes.
Okay.
And they're informed of that as part of the application process.
Okay, so the first step would be we would expect to see such a person?
Yes.
Is that person in the room?
Nope.
Doesn't seem to be, okay. Does that person have a name? Oh, she's not She represents the city of El Cerrito. Her name is on here.
So we did receive somebody from West County, except I want to say San Pablo. I think Rita, didn't you tell somebody and they?
Might have.
It was Belinda.
Oh, Belinda from San Pablo gave us, she had somebody contact us and we sent her the application, but we haven't heard anything. So it wasn't El Cerrito, it was San Pablo, sorry.
Okay. So follow up, maybe Rita could, or.
I can follow up as well. If it was
Brian, right?
My Belinda, right? Belinda San Pablo? Okay.
Greg?
Just checking.
You're right. I think, oh no, it's not.
So Greg will follow up.
Oh, Greg, okay. Could everyone do me a favor and point their name tag slightly at me so that I can actually see what it says? Except that their one is blocking the next one, but I guess I'll be pretty good. Uh-huh.
Regards to this item?
Yes.
I just wanted to point out, and I'm not sure, I have the mind of a steel sieve, and but the thing about Antioch is it says vacant, but it's no longer a paratransit provider, because I'm not speaking officially on behalf of the senior center, but that is no longer in it. So I'm just wondering if that should just be removed.
What
was our
section is it
decision?
in?
Yeah, technically, you're right. It's still in our bylaws. We haven't had a chance to update those yet, and that's why they're still listed.
What section is it in?
Under operators.
What section?
Section B, service provider.
D?
Right here.
B. Okay.
Very bottom.
So, okay, not any, I'll just say, okay. So we need to then fill the two from West County, one from Central County, and two agencies. And the other two, as I remember, are just we that was just in case that ever happened. That wasn't that we were trying to fill them, as I remember. They're non-voting anyway, so they would not count in a quorum, it would be my understanding. Okay, so does anyone have any ideas for any of those? How to get them?
Under agencies, the two vacant spots, are those agencies still in existence that had those seats?
Could be any agency that qualifies. It's not a particular agency.
Okay.
I do kind of have a question, and I don't know if Rita knows the answer to this. If you do become a city council person, will that affect your role on Advisory Council on Aging?
According to Laura Sipoin, no. I asked her when I first filed if I had to resign from the Advisory Council on Aging, and she said no. So I haven't heard anything else.
Of course, you might walk you if you get really busy.
That's true.
And you might not.
But also I figured, well, if I can't be for the Advisory Council on Aging, I'll do West County.
Whoops. Now for that, you have to be a paratransit rider, though. Are you?
am.
Oh, you are now?
I always have been.
Oh, I thought you weren't, you told me.
That's the San Pablo Paratransit.
Do you have to be ADA or just anything? I don't know.
Just ride paratransit.
Okay, why is my chair moving? I don't know. Turned it off there.
So if you use the San Pablo.
Yep.
So that counts? Okay,
For
good.
years.
Okay, great. Okay, so any other questions on anything here? Okay. It would be good if we would get some more consumers, because that's what this is all about. Okay, so now we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the schedule, and that's on page 2-1, I believe. And that's the schedule for this next year. And, excuse me, have people checked this against their own schedule? This is, I believe, for the most part, it's just the third Monday of the month, right? And then in January, it's not, and that's probably because Martin Luther King holiday.
Yep. So it's the
interferes.
fourth Monday in January, and it's the third Monday on the rest of them.
Yeah, so that will be our schedule. Not hearing any comments from anyone. Okay, so we'll move on the agenda to approval of the summary of actions, and that's from September the 17th. And let's see, those can be found. Doesn't seem to be. You just have to find it. It's the next page after the calendar. So does anybody have any corrections?
I'd like to move that we accept the minutes. as
I do have one.
Okay, go ahead, Rita.
For the vote on number 6, I think I voted no. I don't think I abstained, but I can't really remember.
Which one?
On number 6, on the motion to stop the study,
Oh.
I think I voted no.
You did vote. I believe you did vote no.
Yeah.
And on that same item, I abstained rather than voting no. Vi.
Who said that? I didn't catch that. Who's
Vi did.
talking?
Vi.
Oh, Vi, okay.
And Rita voted.
I voted no.
Yeah, I think we mixed those up.
Vi, I don't see her at all. Let's see. What am I missing?
Yeah, it's,
Okay, Vi is she's not here at all, is she?
Yeah, my last name's Ibarra, so I'm in between Perry and Hammond.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's doing it by last name, and your
Yeah,
last
sorry.
name is,
Ibarra with the I.
and I still don't see it, but where is it?
under nose. It's,
Directly underneath the word nose.
Oh, maybe I'm looking in the wrong. Here.
Number 6.
Oh, there it is. Okay. And that other person was Rita, and I don't see her last name.
Yeah, I'm down there, but I voted no.
Okay. Both.
we'll make those corrections.
No, it doesn't impact the outcome.
No.
But anyway, okay, so is there a motion?
Full motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
I'm sorry, there was a correction.
Oh, another correction.
Another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Rashida?
I think the workshop was on the 7th, not the 9th. Friday, number 8.
Yeah, it was the 7th.
Okay. Any more corrections? Not seeing any corrections. Michael?
I'd like to make the motion that we accept as amended.
Okay, is there a second?
I second.
Okay, there's a motion and second in it that we accept as corrected, and there are two sets of corrections. Item number 6, Ibarra and Xavier should be listed as no votes rather than abstains.
No.
Did I get it backwards?
Bars and abstain.
Ibarra's an abstain.
Years and no vote. So we just need to switch those two.
You mean switch them from no to abstain? You said we just need to switch them.
Rita from
Rita's in, a,
and we need to move,
no, Rita is currently listed in abstain.
right, so we need, but she voted no. So we need to move her to the no,
Uh-huh.
and then we need to take Laura from no and move her to abstain.
Oh, okay,
So the total vote doesn't change.
okay. Either abstain or no, it would be the same
Correct.
outcome, I think. Okay, so, the motion is, I'll try to repeat it completely correctly, that Ibarra becomes an abstain and Rita becomes an abstain.
No.
What am I doing wrong?
I voted no.
Not seeing the word. Oh, there, okay. Okay, Rita is currently listed as abstain. So all I could do would be, is move her to a no. Did I not say that? Xavier becomes a no. Ibarra becomes an abstain. Okay, I see it now. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for your patience there. Okay. And the next item is item number 4, which is the City of Richmond fiscal year 2017-18 Measure J Program 15 claim approval. And just for the record, note that that's last year, not this year. Okay. Peter, are you going to open this item?
Yeah, so Jana just clarified, this is for fiscal year 17-18, not the current year, which is fiscal year 18-19, which we have a claim for that, but I think Lori had said that they're still kind of working out the details with their LIFT program, so we're holding off on that one right now. The subcommittee met just before this meeting. That's why we were late coming in here. I think the ultimate decision of the subcommittee was not to approve it at this time and ask that the City of Richmond put together an analysis of why some of the numbers and the ones that were really brought up were total passenger trips, which dropped by about 40%, and total revenue service hours dropped by a percentage much less than that, so kind of explain why the revenue hours were still fairly high compared to the big drop in passenger trips, and also a number of wheelchair passengers dropped significantly from last year. A lot of potential reasons were discussed, but I think the subcommittee kind of felt like, solidified, do a little bit better analysis of those and kind of come back with a more solid kind of answer as to potentially why those occurred. So I think that kind of summarizes what happened in the subcommittee meeting. The subcommittee members, if they want to add anything, are certainly welcome to.
Do any subcommittee members want to add anything? Okay. Does the applicant, Lisa, do you have any comments?
Yes, the city's fine with that, and I think it's only fair that we do come back with a little bit more information if this is what the subcommittee desires. It's just for a little bit more transparency. As explained during the subcommittee meeting, a lot of the numbers that we have listed, all of them have come from a route match system. So we may or may not be able to explain all of it away. As many of the committee members know, the city was going through a transition process, which included revamping our paratransit service. So we will look at, when that started and the number of drivers that we had at the time versus the number of reduced drivers to impact service numbers. So I think it's only fair to just present more transparency. I will ask staff, though, that once we come back with this, how much longer will that take before we can actually see a reimbursement for Measure J claims?
It'll need to come back to the PCC, and that meeting's in January.
Oh, okay, okay.
And then, so I'll need it before then.
Okay,
And then I'll need to get it to the subcommittee, but we will have the subcommittee meet before the January PCC.
okay.
And then it'll go to the authority in February,
Okay.
since that'll be the next meeting after the PCC meeting. So as soon as it's approved by the authority, we'd be able to send you a check for the whole amount since the year's over.
Okay, so what do we do for, I know this is not on the agenda maybe, but since we're talking about claim forms, what about 1617?
So 1617, we have your that allocation has been approved.
Okay.
We were just kind of waiting until your system kind of got fixed. So we'll talk about that, but I think you can just send me a letter, and then we can release those funds.
Okay, all right. Oh, Joanna has something.
And to clarify, that was 2 quarters. Yeah, 6 months for 1617.
What happened to the rest of the year?
We paid you.
Oh, did you pay already?
We paid the first half of the year, and then
Okay.
it was the second half.
So we're just looking for the second half of
Yeah.
16, 17, okay?
Yep.
But you have everything you needed for that time, and the letter, you said you send an email? Is that
Yeah, and
okay.
I'll tell you what I need from you.
Okay, very good. Thank
Just
you.
some verification, and we know that you've kind of gone through this process of trying to improve things, so
Okay, all right, thank
that's
you.
what we're looking for there.
All right, thank you.
Joanna, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted for this to clarify this because I think CCTA has the authority to allocate the 15, program 15, and then we have the 20B. So as I understand it, just to clarify, the 20B piece, which is the last page of your 17-18 claim, is what goes to WIGTAC. Is that right? So it doesn't actually get approved per se by CCTA. It gets approved by our WIGTAC board. Is that right?
It doesn't have to go through the PCC, but it's still, the allocation would be approved by the authority.
So once the WIGTAC board, so we want to coordinate this so that when you bring it back to the PCC,
When we go to the authority in February, we want to have WIGTAC's approval on
By
the 20
then.
as well.
okay, we'll just coordinate that. We'll have a conversation. That makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Okay, does anybody else, including the public, have a comment, further comment on that? Michael?
Yeah, as a member of the subcommittee, and this is not going to be argumentative against the city of Richmond, it's going to be a compliment. You're using the term transparency, and I was so total, I'm not sure, I think I speak for everybody. Your transparency has been absolutely awesome. I mean, the honesty, and because I think transparency means truthfulness. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just a deep clarification. Yeah.
Something to take back to your to
I will
whoever.
do so. Thank you. Thank you, Michael.
Okay, any further comments from anyone? Okay, seeing none, then are we ready for a motion on item number 4?
I think
Oh, no, we're
just
saying we're not
deferring
going to
it.
have.
Right, we're going to defer it until we get the
Okay, does that take a
response.
motion? Or we just?
No, I don't think so. I think what you would do is just say we're going to defer the
Okay.
action until
So
the
we
next
will
meeting.
defer this until the meeting in January, next PCC meeting. Okay, now we're ready for the Service Review Advisory Committee report, and magically I managed to actually get the report here, which I seem not to do very good job on sometimes. Anyway, that meeting was held on November the 6th, and one of the items that we talked about was regarding a problem that the East Bay Paratransit was having with a rider who would schedule many rides in the same day. I don't know if the exact pattern, but let's say it was 1 an hour or something, because they didn't really know what time they wanted to come back. And then they would turn around and schedule, or they would cancel all but one of those rides and they would do it at the last minute, meaning the ride really wasn't particularly available to someone else because they did it at such a late stage. Probably it was closer than 1 hour apart, though. What do you know what it actually was? I don't. Kim?
The individuals that are making these rides, and just to make sure that you all understand what was happening, is an individual, and it was several people in the system, but it was the individual would make a ride for their going trip, not knowing what time they wanted to come home for the return trip, and make a 5 p.m. return, a 6 p.m. return, 7 p.m. return. And so since our policy is to cancel your ride at least 1 hour before the ride arrives, then they would make a bunch of cancellations on time so it didn't ding their own no-show. There wasn't to be a no-show for the person who was making the return trips. But what happens is, again, it's each hour there is a ride held for one person who knows that he or she may not need it.
And the word that was used at the meeting in describing that kind of a pattern was fraudulent. So there is now language being added, if it hasn't already, to the rider's guide for that service to notify the rider that that is the case. And in fact, people won't be, if they do that, they will be marked as not, as doing what they did, and they would not, and they would in fact be dinged for it. And in fact, I think really you can't do it right now. Or can you actually schedule a bunch of rides for the same day that look like they're doing this pattern? I don't think so.
I'm not sure if it's actually gone into place yet because
when it does, the actual language that goes into place says that you can't do this pattern of rides.
Right.
Reservations. We're talking about reservations.
Correct. And because the language is going into the rider, until the language actually goes into the rider's guide, then we can't say that that's fraudulent because people don't understand that.
I'm talking about after it goes. What I'm talking about what it looks like, the language that goes into the rider's guide. What language is planned for the rider's guide?
Oh, I don't have the exact language.
Okay, and I don't either. So anyway, I think you get the general gist of what that item was about. I understand that the general manager is no longer there. His name is Jay Jeter, so I don't, who's acting, do you know? Okay. Probably Sandy Lopez. Oh, Cindy Lopez? Okay. And I don't know what happened there, if anything exciting or just one of those things. Let's see, there's one other, I think that's pretty much what would be of interest other than perhaps looking at the statistics. Let me turn to that. Okay. One of the things that's interesting about East Bay Paratransit is, and I don't know how many of you can see my list, but they have a full page of statistics that are presented to the Riders Committee every month, or it's actually every 2 months. And they show the variance for that particular period of time, and they compare it to that period of time last year, recognizing that the number of rides at Christmas time might be different than the number of rides in, say, May or something. And so they always compare a like period of time to a like period of time, but in a different year. So they look at such things as the total passengers, what we call ADA passengers, people who are ADA certified, because you can have companions. They show how many companions. You can have personal care assistants, things like that. And then there can be scheduling statistics and the percent of riders, which is a fault, no-show, and late cancellations. So all of these statistics are on here. It might be interesting if everybody got a copy of one of these, just to sort of look at it, to get an idea of the kinds of things that are here. It looks at complaints, safety, like how many vehicle accidents, eligibility, statistics, how many people were certified, denied, denials reversed. So it is kind of an interesting set of statistics, and it was put together with an initial group a long time ago, and then modified as they recognized that something else would work better. Could we possibly, if I give this to you, Peter, do that? Okay. So maybe I'll. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions on this? I think if you just did it paper, or could you just take a picture of it and get it that way? Can I just pass it around?
Is it online?
Would you all prefer it electronically?
Yes.
Okay. So you'll get it to
I'll
them?
forward it to Peter.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, so any last questions? Not seeing any. We'll move on our agenda to, we're going to be done early, the Senior Mobility Action Council report. Lisa, has that become yours?
Yes, except I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's allowed. Unless somebody else was there? Not seeing anybody? Okay. The next item is future agenda items. Does anybody have one?
Well, we'll do Richmond,
Okay.
and we'll see what else is. Sometimes there's some like rotating things on an annual basis. What's there?
Okay. Okay. And is there any news to share? Yes, Michael.
As you all know, there has been a very tragic fire situation developing in the Chico, Paradise, Magalia area. And I had a conversation today. I was speaking on my own behalf, but I talked to people at Butte County Transit that apparently were quite involved in helping to evacuate, particularly the paratransit people, because that area, the Butte County Association of Governments separates the county into, like, I think it's 3 paratransit service agencies that are not interconnected. And so you'd have to take fixed route between, say, for example, Chico and Paradise, Magalia. And so they have a center up there where they keep the paratransit vehicles to provide service in that area. And apparently they were fairly involved. They really didn't want to speak about it too much over the phone. But apparently they were very helpful in terms of being able to get people out and that sort of thing. And they have no idea. I mean, the future of that area in terms of paratransit is going to be very, very iffy for quite some time, simply because I'm going to presume that a lot of that equipment was either hopefully moved out in the first 2 hours of the fire, and if not, I'm sure that whole transit center area has been destroyed. So it's going to be quite some time before they're going to be able to provide that service up in that region where Paradise Magalia is.
Was. At least Paradise.
Well, Magalia, they're starting to
Okay, I just don't know about that one. I just know that Paradise. Okay, that could be, but in Paradise, my understanding is it's pretty much everything. Residential, yeah. The whole community is gone. I actually have a friend who lived up there, and wasn't there when it happened, but it's really bad. My son-in-law is a firefighter, and he was on the fire the first day and remained on the fire for days. So I've been kind of following it. Like on the Paradise Fire, it's got some name, Camp, the campfire it's called. I was involved in a different way, which might be interesting to share with the River Fire, I think it's called, which is one of the ones in the Lake County area, which was called the Mendocino Complex. The reason for the word Mendocino is that's where it started, but most of the impact was in Lake County, where my daughter lives. And I know because I rode on the transit system kind of almost as soon as you could get in there. And what they were doing was some really helpful things to people who are basically low income up there. And that was on the transit system, there was no charge. Or, excuse me, on the transit system and the fixed route system kind of seem to merge up there. I can't figure out how they're even different. But so they didn't charge anybody for a ride, and which I thought was really a good idea and a good policy, maybe even a good policy to have in place already, not just wait for the activity to happen. When the fire's going on, for the most part, people aren't allowed to move in and out of the impacted area. So I know my daughter's house and her babysitter and her job were all in the mandatory evacuation areas. They were different ones, but so the idea of moving people around kind of becomes a strange concept when you're not allowed to move. Although if you're considered, my daughter had to go to work in a mandatory evacuation area, so because of her job. But anyway, so I unfortunately able to share a lot of stories, but it's really a tragic situation up there, really a tragic situation. Like, I'm not really sure of any, in Paradise wasn't that small a community. 27,000 people. Yeah, 27,000, that's bigger than my city. Yeah, my city's only 24,000, and 27,000, you know, I mean, huge number. And a lot of the people who are missing are children, supposedly, which is also very tragic. I'm talking about the Paradise area now, or maybe it's the whole fire. I think it's the campfire I'm talking about, actually, because I'm looking at the CAL FIRE statistics, which are not city-oriented. Anyway, does anyone else have anything they want to share? Okay, well, Rashida?
Yeah, I was just going to say that County Connections' current paratransit contract expires in 223 days.
But who's counting, right?
I didn't want to be so petty about that, so but we're going to release an RFP next month.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, anything more from anyone? Well, thank you all for coming, and have a happy holiday season. Whatever your choice of holidays is. And we will see you in January. Thank you. Thank you to staff. And our